Dear future builders, I'm very excited to have the opportunity to be here and to take part at the opening of this exciting conference with leading actors from Norway and internationally putting the critical role of cities on the agenda. The world is facing transformation at so many levels. We're facing significant economic shifts at the global level towards the global south and towards the east. We're facing rapid technological changes that are mind-boggling and disruptive. And we're facing a climate crisis that is ever more present. It's not a matter of the future, it's here, and we need to address it in multiple ways. In these and a range of other major transformations globally, urbanization is at the heart. The role of cities is at the heart of addressing the changes. And this goes not least for the matter of climate change. I guess we're used to, traditionally, to consider cities as the cause of many environmental problems. When horses and horse shit became an environmental problem, people thought that, wow, cars will be the solution because they don't shit. Well, they do, but in different ways, of course. And a range of other environmental problems relating to waste, relating to sewage, etc., has this connection to how we traditionally have seen cities. I think today we need to get used to seeing cities as part of the solution much more than as part of the problem. I have my origins in the sense that my parents were both born in a small island community way north of the Arctic Circle. It's a very pristine island. It's extremely clean. It's stunningly beautiful. And you tend to look at that as the way the world would be if we were all living in environmentally friendly ways. The problem is just that due to the distance to shops, to jobs, to schools, people need to use cars to make their ways. Public transportation is simply not affordable for local authorities at a rate that can cater for people's needs. So some of my cousins that still live there don't have exactly environmentally friendly lifestyles. Some time back, one of my cousins moved to Oslo, and he now lives in one of our newest urban development areas, byen, settled in an apartment block, distance to shops, schools, kindergartens. His work and the public transportation system being such that he rarely uses his car, and with bikes being ever more popular and bike lanes being ever more developed, he spends his life mainly without using a car. And for him it's been a realization that what he thought of as an environmentally friendly lifestyle in those very nice parts of, in that very nice island, wasn't exactly that, while living in the heart of the bustling capital city it means a far more environmentally friendly lifestyle. Today, 80% of Norway's population already live in cities and towns. More and more people choose to live in urban areas. It's a development causing a lot of challenges, but from a climate perspective, I see it as mainly an opportunity. And we know globally that most of the world's future population growth will come in cities, maybe 1 billion people over the next periods. And we can make, and we need to make these cities climate friendly, environmentally friendly, and economically prosperous if we make these the right decisions today. And we're seeing, as in so many fields, major international corporations being often ahead of politics. They're now looking not only at countries as markets, they're looking at major cities as markets. When they're trend spotting, they're looking at major cities, not least in Africa, as far more important to their strategic planning than our countries. So this is a matter of great importance. And it's a matter of great importance to implementing the Paris Climate Agreement. The Paris Agreement is a breakthrough. It's a turning point because so many countries have signed up for it, and the agreement sends a very strong signal to politicians, to market actors, that we are going through a major transformation. Cities are still responsible for a large part of greenhouse gas emissions, especially from transportation and heating, and is therefore especially important to ensure a green transformation in cities. To make that happen, we need innovation, we need advances in technology, we need long-term proactive planning. And as we plan for the cities of the future, we really can't base our planning on how things used to be in previous decades. For the government, this is very clear when we look at transportation. We're going to develop a new national transportation plan for the country. And the way we look at cities and other transportation networks needs to change because we're seeing extremely rapid developments in the area of mobility. Low and zero emission cars, autonomous cars, and the combination of digitalization and automation that presents exciting opportunities also in a low emission context. In climate and environmentally friendly cities, buildings are energy efficient, heating stems from renewable energy sources, waste is recycled, and the transportation networks are such that people don't have to use their own cars most of the time. Cities and climate and environmentally friendly cities ensure parks and green areas. They're opening up old waterways, channels, streams, making room for ponds, not only to make cities more livable, but also to prepare for the results of the climate change that is already happening. We do know that we'll have more extreme weather. Cities are vulnerable to extreme weather. Opening up old waterways will reduce the impact of flood, and that's also the kind of thing we need to take into account going forward. And the Paris Agreement very much focuses not only on reducing emissions and combating climate change, but also on adapting to the climate change that will come. We also know that since innovation is needed, we need bustling cities. We need cities that are attractive to people, that bring the best minds together, and that create new solutions. And we also know that there is a positive circle here. Cities that facilitate a high quality of life for people also are more attractive for new industries and for their employees. Therefore, climate-friendly cities really can go hand in hand with bustling businesses and economic growth. I lived for a number of years in Stockholm, and it was very interesting there to watch, to study closely how the city's authorities focused on sustainable energy, land use, and transport planning. From 1993 to 2010, Stockholm reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 35%, at the same time had an economic growth of 41%. It's a really interesting case of how economic development can go hand in hand with reducing emissions. And one of the major reasons for that success story was long-term investment in public transportation networks. Through climate and environmentally friendly city planning, the authorities facilitated economic growth while making the city a good place to live in. Norway will become a low-emission society by 2050. This is a decision of a unanimous parliament, but more than that, it's a necessity in order to achieve what we need to combat climate change. So we are going to have a society with very low emissions, and with an extensive public transportation network where cities are built and designed for pedestrians and bicyclists, and where new climate-friendly technology is being utilized. At the basis of, or as a basis of our approach in climate policy lies the agreement, the climate agreement between major political or most political parties in Norway in June 2012. This agreement makes it very clear that growth in urban areas, passenger growth in urban areas, need to be absorbed by public transport, cycling, and walking. This is an objective that is necessary for several reasons. We need to avoid traffic-choked cities, we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we need to improve local air quality. To follow up on this objective, the government has introduced urban environment agreements, as well as a reward scheme for public transport. We also finance 50% of large public transport projects in major urban areas of Norway, as well as providing financial support to increase the establishment of biogas plants. We don't envision cars completely being removed from the streets, but we need to see those cars being low-emission cars, and we are on the right track. Last year, 17% of all cars in Norway, or sold in Norway, were fully electric. So far this year, 40% of new cars sold in Norway are electric or hybrid. It's quite a stunning development. The goal we set in the climate agreement for new car emissions by 2020 is probably going to be reached next year. And last week, the majority behind the government in Parliament agreed on a target that by 2025 we'll have no fossil fuel cars sold in Norway. And this is eminently doable. The public transport solutions of the future are fossil-free, as well as personal transport is fossil-free. On public transport, we're seeing several municipalities at the forefront of the development. We're seeing in Fredrikstad, Hvaler, Sarpsborg that all buses are currently running on biogas. In Oslo, the public transportation company Ruter has introduced a target of fossil-free public transportation in 2020. Electrification of operations will be very important in this work. Increased energy efficiency is also part of the transition to the low-emission society. The building sector is critical to achieving this objective because it does represent a high share of the total energy consumption in a country like Norway that occasionally is cold, and because there is a large potential for reducing energy consumption in buildings. We're concerned about this even if we have a renewable energy, we have almost 100% renewable in our national energy mix. We still see it as very important to tighten energy efficiency requirements. And the newest requirements that came into effect 1st of January this year will increase energy efficiency of new buildings by 20 to 25%. These are requirements that encourage the use of solar panels and other renewable energy, that encourages new technology that will enable ordinary consumers and housing cooperatives to generate and sell excess electricity on sunny and windy days, and then buy it during the night or winter. And we're seeing exciting developments. One of the things I learned in this job is that in Norway, where solar power might not be the first thing that comes to mind for foreign visitors coming to this country, we have already 75 companies in the solar sector in Norway. So there's a lot of activity, a lot of innovation, a lot of promising developments taking place. In addition to increasing energy efficiency, we will phase out the use of fossil fuels in buildings. We're preparing a ban on the use of fossil fuels for heating purposes as from 2020. The government will lead by example by phasing out oil in its buildings by 2018. We have, as part of the climate agreement, to tighten energy efficiency requirements even further to a nearly zero energy standard in 2020. And this means we need to develop more energy efficient and environmentally friendly buildings. We're seeing several examples of such buildings, not least examples of Futurebuilt's many impressive pilot projects, such as Bjørnsletta School, Brynseng School, Powerhouse Kjørbo, the shopping center Fornebu S, buildings that have achieved the highest level of BREEAM classification. These developments are all part of what it takes to become a low-emission society. There was talk about our master of ceremony, being a visionary guy, but also a person that brings things to concrete action. And that is exactly the kind of thing we need to make the low-emission society a reality. We need to see the opportunities out there. We need to put policies in place that will enable people to grasp those opportunities. And I think what we're seeing now in the transportation sector and in the building sector and in city planning is exactly a lot of dynamism going in the right direction. The challenges are still huge, but I am convinced that by 2050 we will be there, and we will be there because we have a lot of good people increasingly turning their attention to building climate-friendly cities and climate-friendly solutions. So I'd like to end by saying that we need commitment, we need engagement, and we need cities and those working with cities to guide us to the low-emission society. Thank you very much.
Takk skal du ha, Vidar Helgesen. Jeg har et par spørsmål til deg, hvis du er klar for det?
Absolutt.
Vi er jo helt avhengig av et smidig og godt samarbeid mellom den blå-blå regjeringen og det rødgrønne byrådet i Oslo for å få fart på det grønne skiftet.
Ja.
I Oslo satses nå friskt. Bilfritt sentrum i løpet av 4 år, plusshus som hovedregel i løpet av, for alle kommunale bygg, og bortimot klimaneutralitet i løpet av 15 år. Klarer regjeringen å henge med i svingene?
Jeg tror at svaret på det er ja. Vi ikke bare henger med i svingene, men vi jobber veldig nært med byene. Vi forhandler med byene. Forhandlinger er ofte tøffe, fordi det er mange hensyn som skal ivaretas. Men vi er veldig fornøyd med den løsningen vi har fått når det gjelder Oslopakke 3. Vi har bymiljøavtale på trappene med Trondheim, også en by med et, for å si det forsiktig, enda mer langvarig rødt styre enn Oslo. Og vi ser der at vi når gode resultater. Så det er jo ganske bred konsensus, til tross for at det er veldig mye sånn debatt på marginen av klimapolitikken, så er jo hovedbildet at vi har veldig stor enighet om hvor vi skal, og at vi er i stand til å løse felles utfordringer.
Ja, det er jo beroligende. Klimapolitikk er felles anliggende for alle.
Ja, og så er det noe uenighet om virkemidlene. Det hører med til politikken.
Ja.
Vi legger veldig stor vekt på, og mer vekt enn noen tidligere regjering, på teknologiutviklingen, og på at Norge ikke bare skal bli et lavutslippssamfunn. Vi skal også fortsette å være et høyinntektssamfunn. Vi skal ikke bli et lavinntektssamfunn på veien til lavutslippssamfunnet. Og da trenger vi å bygge teknologier og bygge et næringsliv som skaper verdier den dagen oljeinntektene ikke er der. Og det er et stort og viktig prosjekt. Men det er også sånn at mer og mer så ser vi at de smarte pengene følger de grønne løsningene. Så mer og mer av allmenn økonomisk dynamikk går i grønn retning. Og da er det viktig at man ser det, for da er det veldig viktig at politikken henger med, både når det gjelder skattesystemer, det å gjøre Norge og Oslo attraktive for investeringer osv.
Bra svar. Men du, jeg har et veldig konkret spørsmål til deg. Flere politiske partier, både på høyre og venstre siden, har tatt til orde for at det nye regjeringskvartalet skal bli et internasjonalt klimaforbilde og et Futurebuilt-prosjekt. Det ville jo vært symboltung klimapolitikk i praksis. Hva tenker du om det?
Jeg tenker veldig positivt om det. Nå er det noen kompromisser som må gjøres. Det er blant annet sånn at en del av sikkerhetsløsningene ikke nødvendigvis er det samme som de mest klimavennlige løsningene.
Nei, for det skal mye
Men detaljene i dette må du egentlig spørre byggeminister Sanner om. Altså, det er
ja,
han som,
for det var neste egentlig. Jeg vet den saken ligger jo egentlig på din kollega Sanners spor. Men du har kanskje litt på. Du treffer han av og til, det tror du det?
Ja, og det er ikke noe tvil om at hele regjeringen er opptatt av, og hele regjeringen diskuterer det nye regjeringskvartalet. Ja. Vi er kommet langt, men det er veldig mange flere runder som skal til før vi er i havn.
Ja. Ok. Du blir med oss en stund til, fikk jeg beskjed om. En liten stund til. Og så må du gå om en halvtimes tid, for du har et helt sikkert veldig viktig møte å gå til. Og det er ikke fordi du er høflig.
Det er alt for mange av dem.
Ja.
Ja, takk skal du ha.
Takk skal du ha.